Hey, Jackie. Or do you go by Rainbow Bridge Raina?
You can call me either.
Okay, amazing. So happy to have you here on the show. You're definitely one of the coolest speakers that we've had so far. We've had a lot of business speakers in the pet space, but you are the first. I don't even know how to describe what you do. So maybe I'll let you do the intro.
I know it's extremely confusing, and so I always say overall, overarching, I am a pet loss support companion, but there's two aspects to what I do. One side is Rainbow Bridge Raina, who is a make believe character who is the greeter at the Rainbow Bridge, and she theoretically, via video, welcomes people's pets to the Rainbow Bridge, gives them their wings and their halo, and essentially is just there to comfort and reassure everybody that their pets are okay. And then on the other side, it's me, Jackie, and I support people by hosting monthly pet loss support meditations virtually, hosting one on one grief support sessions, and overall creating content to make people feel less alone and comforted on their grief journey.
I love that so much. And the idea of welcoming our pets into this new world where they're pain-free, they're just happy and playful and get forever treats.
Yes, yes, it's ideal. It's the best vision ever.
Yeah, it's so true. And speaking of content creation, I think it should not go without being noted that you are a sensation, I would say, in the space, and you've helped so many pet parents with this difficult journey of grief. You have what, something like millions of views on your TikTok. It's obviously, like, it's always nice to have bragging rights, but I think it also shows that your reach, you've touched a lot of communities.
Thank you. Yes, it's wild, but it's helpful to know that we as a community are not alone. There's so many
Hmm.
people going through pet loss, unfortunately, but also it's helpful to know it's not just us.
Yeah, that's true. And this space is also new, right? I mean, you really are an expert in the pet loss and the grief for pet loss space. So would you be able to tell us how you got started? What was it like when you got started? I imagine it's probably developed more. There's more support now for pet parents, but what was this whole journey like for you?
Yes, so I have a soul dog. She's an angel now and her name is Riley, and she kind of kicked off as every single, like, anybody in the pet sphere in general, it all starts with like that one animal. And she's the one who kind of kicked it off for me. And she lived to be roughly 12 years old, and then she crossed over in February of 2020. And that was
Mm,
pre-pandemic, but it was only a month before, literally 1 month before we all went into lockdown. And so she crossed, and I was feeling very alone. There wasn't really much out there. I did not know TikTok existed. I don't even know if it was TikTok at the time or if it was musically, but I just felt very alone. And then the pandemic hit, and I opened TikTok because I'm like, what else am I going to do? As everybody else felt. And there was still nothing. I could not find anybody speaking about this topic. So I just took it upon myself to start talking about it. And really, it was a cry for help almost. I
wow.
needed to get my words out there and see if anyone else felt the same. I was not doing Raina at the time. I had not made her up yet. It was just me speaking to the camera, talking about pet loss. Um, and what I found was that people could really relate. And that made me feel so much less alone. I cannot even describe what it did for my mental state. Um, and then I would say probably beginning of 2021, TikTok was a different space than it is right now. It's more serious now, but back in during the pandemic days, it was a little more um just people were doing characters, people were dancing, people were lip syncing. It was like so joyful almost. And I said to my husband, who was my fiance at the time, do you think it would be weird if I bought a wig off Amazon and pretended that I worked at the Rainbow Bridge as this character named Rainbow Bridge Raina? I don't know where she literally just came to me in my mind, which is how all of my like weird ideas they just come. And he said, "No, I think that would be great. Like do whatever you want, really." He's very supportive. And I literally did just that. I ordered a $15 wig off of Amazon and I just started recording. That was, so like I said, early 2021, and now in 2024 it's a much different landscape. It's incredible. There are so many accounts of people talking about pet loss. There are people who are specializing in pet loss, like therapists, um, and you can find more people just uh, talking about their pets and their loss everywhere, which is exactly what I was hoping for. And I'm not saying I'm the catalyst, I'm saying I'm so happy to be a part of this kind of community of people talking about loss.
I love that backstory. Rainbow Bridge Raina saved you, and now you're helping more, which I think is such a wonderful mission. And now that you've come, there's been crazy growth since pre-pandemic. What what is your focus now, and what is the next stage for Rainbow Bridge Raina?
Yeah, so when I first started Raina, I noticed that people only really wanted to see Raina. So if I would ever show up as myself, the views just plummeted. And you cannot, no matter what you do, those numbers get in your head. And you start to think, okay, nobody wants to see my face. They just want to see me made up as Raina in a wig. So I'm not going to show up as myself. So for so long, I was just Raina. But there was so much I wanted to say because Raina is just, Raina is me and all of my beliefs. But I felt she was an easier way to digest
Mm.
pet loss. She was more of like a happy um, version of my thoughts, I guess. Whereas when I looked out into the space, all I really felt was there were support groups like on Facebook and things, but they were very heavy. Everybody was just commiserating, which you need on one hand, but on the other hand, there needs to be hope, or else there's nothing. You feel like you're in a very dark space. So that's Raina was that. But as we have kind of, as I've gotten out of that, I've become just more confident and I've decided like, I'm just showing my face. I don't care if the views are different. And so what has happened is it's more me now as Jackie, as myself, just speaking about those very heavy parts of pet loss that we don't talk about, all of the layers to pet loss. It's not just missing your pet. So we're getting more into me and what I can actually offer, not as Rainbow Bridge Raina, but for the future of Raina. She is part of a book that is being illustrated right now. She'll always be on video, I guess. But for myself, I guess the future is wide open. I'm just here to help in whatever capacity people need me. And it's ever evolving. So I'm just listening to what my community tells me. I'm able to talk to them through Instagram stories and through, all the social media platforms, thank goodness. And they just let me know what they need. And if I can offer it, I do. And that's where we are with those one-on-one sessions. But I hope to offer as much as possible, I guess.
To help guide grieving pet parents through the process, whatever they need.
Absolutely. It's a lonely journey. It's very um even when you have someone in your home, like my husband lives with us, obviously, with me and all of our animals. And even if you have someone in your home that is also experiencing the exact same loss, you're grieving it completely different.
Mm.
And that feels isolating in itself because one of you is always going to move forward before the other one. There's always going to be a difference. You usually don't walk in tandem with somebody. So outside of it is myself, and I can walk with you no matter where you are on your journey. And it doesn't make you feel like you're behind or going too fast. I'm just there to meet you exactly where you are.
Hmm. I've always been really curious. I mean, for me, I think it's been like 15 years now since my family dog passed away. So I think I would say like I'm a little bit more removed from this journey, but I know I do remember the first day, like the initial hours and the initial days is just like it's like just pain. I wanted to
Yeah.
die. And I'm
Yes.
always curious now just to learn from somebody who's, so close to it every day with like so many different people. What is it that people need in the first couple of hours, in the first couple of days, and then later on as months and years go by?
Yeah. I think everybody just needs to feel heard because the people around us that love us who are outside of our home, such as like our parents, our best friends, they desperately want for us to feel better. And sometimes they take that on themselves in a way where they ask you how you're doing, and if you say you're not doing well, they want to immediately make it better because that's what they want. They want you to feel better. And people who are experiencing the grief, the grievers, don't feel heard because no one's really stopping and just saying, yeah, this is awful. This is terrible. And you're going to get through this, but right now you don't even have to worry about that. So I think in the beginning, those first days, it's just I see you, I hear you. This is as bad as it feels. And I'm here. I'm here just for what venting, whatever you need. As people move out of I would say the first month at least, you start to come out of a shock and you start to wonder, what does life now look like? And you realize you cannot go back to normal because normal was when your pet was here. So there's now no normal to return to. And you've also lost the best soul that has ever been in your life. So you're grappling with a million different things: loss of purpose, loss of routine, loss of structure, loss of companionship, and loss of understanding. There's so many of us that our pet is the only one that we feel truly gets us. And so when that physical body of our pet is no longer there, we feel very alone. And so there's all these layers. So I think as people move out of the initial shock, people just want to know they're not crazy. We all tend to think, am I crazy? Like my dog or my cat or my bunny was my best friend. They were like my soulmate. And people feel like they might be a little nuts for thinking that. And they're absolutely not crazy. So it's just kind of walking with them and reassuring essentially. And as people get further out, I would say after that first year, it's just learning how to um, move forward. How do we start? You're done going through all of the first days. Like I always say, today is what, July 17th, 16th, July 17th, and although it's not an important day to it's not a holiday, it might not be a birthday for anybody, it's not an important day. You still have to experience July 17th, the first July 17th, without your pet, because every day brings something new. So once we get out of the first days, the first birthdays, first holidays, it's now where you feel like, what do I do now? And that's where I hope to come in and help people find a way forward. What does your new normal and your new life look like? Because that first year, you're not figuring it out so well. We're not. We're just here to heal. And it doesn't have to be, we're here to grieve, not just heal. Um, and I always say it can be messy. You don't have to do it well. There's no points awarded for getting through it quicker. You just have to survive. It can be really messy. And that's what it is. So I'm just here for all of it.
Mm. I really loved what you said about it's a lonely journey because even though a lot of the times we have our friends or family, in the case of human loss, often there are celebration of life events or funerals and there's wakes where we get to interact. But a lot of the times, even though the people around us, they have been through maybe something similar, but they might not always know exactly what to say, or, they might be worried about triggering us or hurting us or saying something they really shouldn't have. So the idea of helping a grieving pet parent to come out and maybe help others help them, I think is also central and is also the core of Goodnight Fetcher with our products. It's meant to be displayed, it's meant to be worn, it's meant to invite conversation so that you can communicate and you can connect with other human beings when you're the most lonely as you're grieving the loss of your fur baby.
Oh my gosh, I don't know that I've ever heard you say that. And it is inviting conversation is such a necessary thing in this. As you said, people are worried, and I've been this way. I have, before Riley crossed, I have known people who have gone through huge losses, and whether it's been humans or pets, and I've been nervous to say anything. You don't want to bring down the vibe. You don't want them to suddenly, you don't want them to cry, not because of yourself. You don't want to do that to them. But this idea of inviting conversation, we're all bursting at the seams to talk about our angels. We're the same way when they're alive on earth. We want to talk about them all the time. And what happens is when your pet passes, people no longer, you know, ask you about them as much. They don't, there's nothing to say like how are they doing? They're not here. So you don't get to talk about them. So to know that your products are to invite conversation, I'm in love with this.
Yes, yes, and shameless plug to our audience here. More collaboration between Rainbow Bridge Raina and Goodnight Fetch are coming because of this, because our missions are so aligned and our goal really is essentially the same, is to help more pet parents.
Yes, it is so, and that's, I think, in us helping pet parents, in everybody that's in this sphere, we invite them to do the same. So there's a ripple effect where more and more people are talking about this, more and more people are being open, and that is literally changing our society. Because as you know, there's just not enough talk about it. There's not enough recognition that it's as heavy and as big as it is. And so the more any of us can do to open up that conversation, even if you're just saying, I really miss my pet, and you're just telling the world, that's so good. So good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. I wonder how you found what pet parents need in times of pet loss versus loss of any other humans, potentially children, baby, friends, or family members. To me, I feel like it's almost as if like if I were to lose my baby Pomeranian Birdie now, I would almost equate it to maybe losing a child because the connection is so pure, so free of expectation, free of fights.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I think I cut out there, or we cut out there, so I heard some of it, but I think you said the difference between, or how did I figure out what people need during pet loss as opposed to human loss? Is that right?
Yes. Are there similarities? Are there differences?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I immediately think of the differences because with human loss, we are, society is still not as like understanding as it could be. We still expect people to, with every loss, we still expect people to immediately get back to work, get back to the grind. because that is just the world we live in. It's how things move. And if you stay still for too long, you could get fired, you could get in trouble, you could have to drop out of school. Like you have to keep moving no matter what the loss is. So I think there's similarity there. However, when it's a human, you can talk about it a bit more openly. When it is a pet, the loss feels different because, as you mentioned, it's unconditional love. There's no expectations there. They don't, with a human, sometimes we have people pass away that we were upset with. So that's like a whole other set of things, but a person can upset us. They can hurt us, and it can sometimes be intentional, and that's okay. It's just the nature of human relationships. But with a pet, they're never intentionally hurting us. As you said, it is the purest form of love. And so to lose that, you don't find that in another human. And it's hard to find another pet, but you will. If I can tell anybody anything, like, it's not going to be every relationship with every person and every pet. None of them are the exact same, but it doesn't mean it can't be as deep. But yes, I think with a pet, it's so different because we think of them, as you said, like these like little babies who just have done nothing wrong in their whole life, who were there just to make us happy. That's all they want in their life, is to make us feel loved and happy. So losing that unconditional love, it's unlike anything.
Yeah, it's like the most painful of pains.
Yes, 100%. Yes.
My husband always says the day Birdie eventually passes, and hopefully it's a good death, he's gonna rush to a rescue organization and get me a new dog. And I'm just like, it's not the same. But yeah, to your point, we can always welcome a relationship with another animal when we're ready. It's always there.
Yes, and I think that I would never push anybody to get a new pet ever. I'm very understanding that it might just not be someone's journey. Whereas for me, I immediately needed more
Yeah.
dog tippy taps in my house. Like, I have cats; they are wonderful and have been with me through half of my life. But I needed something to walk. Like, I was like, I need to walk with a dog. I need to have a dog. Um, but I think the beauty in what anybody does in this sphere of pet loss work is the more that we help people to heal, it affects animals. It's another ripple effect where you might feel like, I can do this again, I would like to do this again, and then you go and you get another animal. Typically, a lot of us go to shelters and rescues, and you are in turn you're helping another animal. So your healing often ripples out into the animal community, which I just love in so many ways.
Yes, it's such a symbiotic relationship. And these beautiful animals, they absolutely deserve everything.
Oh my god, the world. I My whole day is structured around every animal in my house. It is ridiculous, but I wouldn't change it. So no,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
get it.
I want to hear more about now that, similar to your social media page, you are showing more of yourself. You're showing more of Jackie. So I want to hear more about Jackie. Is this your full-time job to help pet parents, or what's your main thing?
This is everything. As I said, there's a lot of moving parts to it. Or there's a lot of just parts in general. There's the meditations, the custom videos, all the content creation work, and the one-on-ones. And then I also have a text message service, which is text from the Rainbow Bridge, which is really just an extension of Raina. I'm not a psychic. I'm not a medium. I'm always very upfront about that because I don't want you to be misled. Um, but everything the text from the Rainbow Bridge is almost as if your pet is just texting you, letting you know that you're okay. So there's all of that. That's my work. That is my, like, part of my purpose on earth. But me, Jackie, is a senior animal lover. I will go and get, if I see a senior animal in need, I will go get them wherever they are, shelter, street, whatever I can do to help them. Right now, I have 5 seniors in our house. 3 of them are dogs, 2 of them are cats, 1 of them is a foster dog. So we foster seniors as well. Sometimes we foster fail. We try not to, but it's
It's
hard.
hard.
It's so hard. And honestly, that makes up so much of what I do. As everybody listening or has these pets that we love so much knows, it's hard to have a life outside of them. And they are so much of my life because there's 5 of them. It's my husband, it's them, and then I see my family, once a week. But really, they're my everything. So that's like I'm either filming or I'm letting a dog or a cat outside or letting them feeding them medication or something.
You're a very dedicated pet mom. You're a pet grief guide. You're also a pet loss influencer, which I think is such a unique concept that we don't hear a lot. But this is what I want to call you. You're so influential in the pet loss space, and really excited for what's to come with all the changes and updates on TikTok as well. So if anybody from the audience wants a session or wants to check out Jackie's video, it's Rainbow Bridge Raina. Can't miss it. It's very vibrant, all kinds of colors, and more really exciting products to come too, including the children book that we're going to talk about in a bit. And
Yeah.
yeah, thank you so much for joining us for this episode, Jackie.
Thank you for having me. I'm just so grateful to know what you're doing in this sphere of pet loss. You're making such a difference.